The dust tasted like defeat, gritty and relentless, just like the whispers that followed her. Every stride was a battle, every breath a gasp for air that felt too thin, too heavy. They called it basic training, but for her, it was a crucible designed to expose every weakness, every doubt. The others, lean and swift, blurred past, their laughter a distant echo in the pounding in her ears. She was different. Her frame, solid and unyielding, moved with a power born not of speed, but of sheer, stubborn will. "I can't run, but I never quit," she'd tell herself, a mantra against the rising tide of exhaustion. But in a world that measured valor in seconds and miles, was heart truly enough? What if the greatest fight wasn't against the clock, but against a system that couldn't see beyond the surface? What if her unwavering spirit, her refusal to yield, was a victory in itself, even if it meant falling short of the finish line? This is the story of a soldier who redefined strength, a woman who proved that true power isn't always found in speed, but in the unshakable courage to keep moving forward, no matter the cost. If this powerful opening has already captured your heart and curiosity, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Your support helps this channel grow and allows us to bring more deeply human and inspiring narratives like this one to life. Thank you. The pre-dawn chill of Fort Maxwell, Georgia, bit through Ayala Vesper's thin fatigues, a stark reminder that this was no ordinary morning. The air, thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, vibrated with the distant shouts of drill sergeants and the rhythmic thud of boots on pavement. It was 0400, and the world was already awake, demanding her full attention, her absolute commitment. Ayala, in her early 20s, stood in formation with her platoon, her shoulders squared, her gaze fixed forward. Her frame was solid, powerful, a testament to years of hard work and a natural, robust build. She wasn't slender like many of her fellow recruits. She was thick, as some might call it, a woman whose strength was evident in her sturdy legs and broad shoulders, but whose speed was often underestimated, or worse, dismissed. This was basic training, the crucible designed to forge civilians into soldiers, and Ayala had arrived with a fire in her belly and a promise in her heart. Her older brother, Elias, a decorated Marine, had always been her hero, his quiet strength a constant inspiration. When he'd been injured overseas, the helplessness she felt had solidified her resolve. She would serve, she would be strong, she would protect. But the military, she was quickly learning, had a very specific definition of strength, and it often began and ended with speed. "All right, recruits, listen up," Sergeant Jackson Jacks. Kincaid's voice cut through the morning air like a whip. Jacks, a man whose physique was as chiseled as his demeanor, was a legendarily tough drill sergeant. His eyes, sharp and unyielding, scanned the formation, lingering for a fraction of a second longer on Ayala. She knew what he saw, a recruit who excelled in strength drills, who could outlift most of the men, but who visibly struggled with the runs. "Today," Jax barked, "we're pushing the 3-mile run. You will maintain pace. You will not fall out. You will finish. Anyone who fails to meet the time standard will be running it again, and again, until you get it right. Move." The platoon broke formation, a flurry of motion as recruits began their stretches. Ayala felt the familiar knot of anxiety tighten in her stomach. Running was her nemesis. Every step felt heavier than the last, her powerful legs burning, her lungs screaming for air. She pushed through the pain, always, but the clock was an unforgiving master. Rhiannon Rhea Bellwether, a wiry recruit with a quick smile and even quicker feet, jogged up beside Ella. "Ready for another fun morning, Ella?" Rhea asked, her breath already even. Rhea had become Ayala's closest confidant in the chaos of basic training, a friendship forged in shared exhaustion and mutual respect. Rhea saw past Ella's struggles with running, recognizing her unwavering spirit and her quiet leadership in other areas. "As ready as I'll ever be, Rhea," Ella replied, forcing a smile. "Just gotta keep moving." Orion Ori Fennel, a lean, competitive recruit who often finished near the top, jogged past them, a smirk on his face. "Don't fall too far behind, Vesper," he called out, not unkindly, but with a clear undertone of challenge. "Sarge doesn't like stragglers." Ella ignored him, focusing on her breathing, on the rhythm of her own body. She knew her limits, but she also knew her resolve. The whistle blew, sharp and piercing, The platoon surged forward, a wave of green uniforms disappearing into the misty morning. Ayla started strong, her powerful legs propelling her forward. She focused on her form, on conserving energy, on the mantra that echoed in her mind. I can't run, but I never quit. But soon, the familiar pattern began. The initial burst of energy waned. Her breathing became labored. The others, faster, lighter, pulled ahead. Rhea, ever loyal, stayed with her for the first mile, offering quiet encouragement. You got this, Ayla. Just breathe. Go on, Rhea, Ayla gasped, waving her forward. Don't let me hold you back. I'll catch up. Rhea hesitated, then nodded, picking up her pace. See you at the finish line. Ayla was alone, the gap between her and the main group widening with every agonizing step. The pain in her shins, her quads, her lungs, was a familiar companion. Sweat stung her eyes, her vision blurred. She could hear the distant shouts of Sergeant Jax, urging the faster recruits on, and she knew he was watching her, assessing her. If Ayla's struggle and determination are already gripping you, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. She thought of Elias, his face etched with pain in the hospital bed, but his eyes still holding that unwavering resolve. He had faced far worse. He had never quit. How could she? Ayla pushed harder, her jaw clenched. She wasn't fast, but she was relentless. She wouldn't stop. She wouldn't walk. She would keep running, even if it was a slow, agonizing shuffle. As she rounded the final bend, the finish line was in sight, a cruel beacon of both relief and impending judgment. Sergeant Jax stood there, stopwatch in hand, his expression unreadable. Most of the platoon had already finished, some stretching, some catching their breath. Ori Fennel and Brenna Bree O'Malley, another recruit known for her sharp wit and even sharper pace, were among them, watching her approach. Ella crossed the finish line, stumbling slightly, her body screaming in protest. She bent over, hands on her knees, gasping for air, her vision swimming. Time, Vesper! Jax's voice was devoid of emotion. 28 minutes, 45 seconds, Sergeant! She managed to wheeze out, knowing it was well over the 24-minute standard. Jax simply nodded, making a note on his clipboard. Report to the track at 1700 for remedial training, Vesper, and bring your running shoes. The words, though expected, still stung. Ayla felt a wave of disappointment wash over her, heavy and cold. She had given it everything, but it still wasn't enough. Rhea jogged over, her face etched with concern. You pushed hard, Ayla. I saw you. Hard enough to fail, Ayla muttered, straightening up, trying to hide the tremor in her hands. Failure is just another step, Vesper, a voice said. It was Brenna O'Malley standing nearby. Bree wasn't known for her softness, but her tone wasn't mocking. You finished. That's more than some could say. Ayla appreciated the sentiment, but the sting of not meeting the standard was still raw. She knew her strength lay elsewhere. In the obstacle course, she was a force, scaling walls and navigating ropes with surprising agility for her build. In the rifle range, her focus was pinpoint. In team exercises, her calm demeanor and problem-solving skills often shone through. But running was her Achilles heel, a constant reminder of a perceived inadequacy in a world that demanded physical perfection. If Ayla's raw determination and the sting of her struggle are keeping you invested, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. That evening, Ayla found herself back on the track, the setting sun casting long shadows. Remedial training meant more running, more pushing, more pain. Sergeant Jax was there, overseeing a small group of recruits who had also failed to meet the standard. He didn't yell. He simply watched, his presence a silent pressure. Ayla ran, her body protesting with every stride. She felt the familiar burn, the tightness in her chest. But this time, something shifted. Instead of focusing on the pain, she focused on the rhythm, on the sheer act of moving forward. She wasn't trying to beat the clock. She was trying to beat her own limitations, to prove to herself that she wouldn't break. She thought of Elias again, his voice echoing in her memory. It's not about how fast you start, Ayla. It's about how strong you finish. She finished the remedial run, exhausted but not defeated. Jack simply nodded. Better pace, Vesper. Keep at it. It wasn't praise, but it wasn't condemnation either. It was progress. Back in the barracks, Ayla called Elias, her voice low to avoid disturbing her bunkmates. "Hey, sis." Elias's voice was warm, familiar. "How's the future war hero doing?" Just finished remedial running," Ayla admitted, a sigh escaping her lips. "Still can't hit the standard, Elias. It's so frustrating. I feel like I'm letting everyone down." Hold on, Elias said gently. "You're not letting anyone down. You're pushing yourself harder than anyone I know. And I know what you're capable of. Speed isn't everything, Ayla. Resilience is. Heart is. And you've got more of that than anyone in your platoon. I guarantee it." His words were a balm to her weary spirit. "Thanks, Elias. I needed that. Just remember why you're there, Ayla," he continued. "It's not just about the physical tests. It's about the bigger picture, the commitment, the service. You're there for a reason, and that reason is bigger than a stopwatch." Ayla hung up, a renewed sense of purpose settling over her. Elias was right. Her motivation ran deeper than a timed run. She was here to serve, to protect, to be a part of something bigger than herself. Her body might not conform to the ideal of a fast soldier, but her spirit was unbreakable. If Elias's wisdom and Ayla's renewed purpose are inspiring you, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. The next few weeks of basic training were a blur of intense physical exertion, tactical drills, and classroom instruction. Ayla continued to excel in areas that demanded strength, endurance, and mental fortitude. In the field, during simulated combat scenarios, her calm under pressure and her ability to quickly assess situations made her an invaluable asset to her fire team. She could carry heavy equipment for miles, navigate treacherous terrain, and maintain her composure when chaos erupted. During a grueling rucksack march, where recruits carried heavy packs over uneven ground for hours, Ayla found her rhythm. Her powerful legs, though not built for speed, were built for sustained effort. She moved steadily, methodically, never faltering. Ori Fennel, who had started out strong, began to lag, his face pale with exhaustion. Ayla, seeing his struggle, quietly shifted some of his gear into her own pack, without a word. Ori looked at her, surprised, then offered a grateful nod. Later, during a team-building exercise that involved disassembling and reassembling a weapon under pressure, Ayla's meticulous attention to detail and steady hands shone. Brenna O'Malley, usually quick to point out flaws, watched Ayla work with a grudging respect. "Vesper, you've got the patience of a saint," Bree remarked, "and hands like a surgeon." Sergeant Jax, though still demanding, began to observe Ayla with a different kind of intensity. He saw her unwavering commitment, her quiet leadership, her refusal to quit, even when her body screamed for rest. He saw how other recruits, even those faster than her, looked to her for stability and strength in moments of crisis. He might push her harder on the runs, but he also started assigning her more responsibility in other drills, testing her leadership potential. One afternoon, during a particularly challenging obstacle course, Ayla found herself at the top of a high wall, her body aching, but her mind clear. She looked down at the next obstacle, a series of ropes and nets, and then across the course at the other recruits, some struggling, some excelling. She knew she might not be the fastest, but she was strong. She was resilient, and she was here. As she descended the wall, her movements precise and controlled, she heard Sergeant Jax's voice, closer than usual. "Vesper," he said, his tone flat. "You're not the fastest recruit I've ever seen." Ayla braced herself for the usual critique. "Understood, Sergeant. But," he continued, his eyes meeting hers, "you're one of the most determined. And in this line of work, sometimes that counts for more than speed." It wasn't a compliment, not exactly, but it was an acknowledgement, a recognition that went beyond the stopwatch. It was a validation of her heart, her spirit, her unyielding will. Ayla felt a surge of quiet pride. She still struggled with the runs, still failed to meet the standard, but she was making her mark in other ways. She was proving that strength came in many forms, and that her form, though different, was just as valuable. The final physical fitness test was looming, a comprehensive assessment that included the dreaded 3-mile run. Ayla knew she had to give it everything she had, not just for the standard, but for herself. She couldn't run like the others, but she would never quit. And in that unwavering resolve, She was beginning to understand that her greatest victory might not be measured by a medal, but by the indomitable spirit she carried within. The training was brutal, the expectations high, but Ayla Vesper was ready to face it, head-on, with a heart that refused to be broken. If Ella's journey of self-discovery and her unwavering spirit are inspiring you, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. The acknowledgement from Sergeant Jackson Kincaid, however subtle, had been a powerful fuel for Ayla Vesper. It wasn't a pass on her running, but it was a recognition of her spirit, a validation that resonated deeper than any stopwatch. The final physical fitness test, PFT, loomed large, a comprehensive assessment that would determine their future. Ayla knew the 3-mile run was still her biggest hurdle, but she was no longer just running against the clock. She was running for herself, for Elias, and for every quiet moment of doubt she had ever faced. Training intensified. Days blurred into a relentless cycle of physical exertion, tactical drills, and classroom instruction. Ayla continued to push her limits, her solid frame proving to be an asset in many areas. During obstacle courses, she moved with a surprising agility, her powerful legs propelling her over walls and through tunnels. She could carry heavy equipment for miles during rucksack marches, her endurance seemingly boundless. While others faltered under the weight, Ayla maintained a steady, determined pace, her breathing deep and controlled. Her peers began to notice. Rhiannon Raya Bellwether, always her staunch supporter, often ran alongside her during the strength and endurance portions, marveling at Ayla's power. "You're like a human tank, Ayla," Rhea would say, grinning. "Slow and steady wins the race, right?" Orion Ori Fennel, initially focused on his own performance, had started to observe Ayla more closely. During a particularly grueling field exercise, where the platoon had to navigate a dense, muddy forest, carrying simulated casualties, Ori found himself struggling. Ayla, despite her own exhaustion, took the lead, her sturdy build making it easier to pull and lift. She directed the team with calm authority, her voice clear amidst the grunts and splashes. When they finally reached the extraction point, Ori looked at her, his usual competitive edge replaced by genuine respect. "Vesper," he panted. "You're a beast, seriously. I don't know how you do it." Ella just offered a tired smile. "One step at a time, Ori, just like everything else." If Ella's unwavering strength and the growing respect from her peers are inspiring you, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. Brenna Bree O'Malley, known for her no-nonsense attitude, also began to show a grudging admiration. During a weapons assembly drill under timed pressure, Bree fumbled a crucial pin. Ayla, seeing her frustration, calmly leaned over and without a word, guided Bree's hand to the correct placement, allowing her to finish just in time. Later, Bree simply nodded at Ayla. "Thanks, Vesper. You got a good head on your shoulders." Sergeant Jax, while still pushing at Ayla on her running, started assigning her to leadership roles in team exercises. He observed her ability to motivate others, to maintain morale, and to think clearly under pressure. He saw how her quiet determination inspired her squad, how her refusal to quit became a silent challenge to everyone around her. He was still the tough drill sergeant, but there was a subtle shift in his gaze when he looked at Ayla, a flicker of something akin to recognition of a different kind of soldier. One afternoon, during a routine medical checkup, Ayla met Dr. Corin Vance. Dr. Vance was a no-nonsense military physician, thorough and direct. Ayla had been experiencing some persistent shin splints, a common ailment for recruits, especially those with her build who were pushing themselves hard. "All right, Vesper," Dr. Vance said, examining her legs. "Shin splints. Nothing major, but we need to manage it. You're putting a lot of stress on those bones." Ayla sighed. "It's the running, doctor. I just can't seem to get faster without pushing too hard." Dr. Vance looked at her over her glasses. "You're a strong woman, Vesper. Your build is robust. That's an asset in many ways. Carrying weight, sustained endurance. But it also means your body mechanics for high-impact, high-speed running are different. It's not a flaw, it's just a fact. We need to focus on proper form, strengthening supporting muscles, and smart recovery." "So I'm just built to be slow?" Ella asked, a hint of frustration in her voice. Dr. Vance leaned back. "You're built to be powerful, Vesper, and resilient. Speed is one metric, But there are many others. Your overall health is excellent. Your heart and lungs are strong. Your determination is off the charts. Don't let one metric define your entire worth as a soldier or as a person. The doctor's words were a revelation. It wasn't a failure of her body. It was a different kind of strength. It wasn't about being slow. It was about being powerful. The perspective shifted something within Ella. She left the clinic with a new understanding, not just of her body, but of her own self-worth. If Dr. Vance's insightful words and Ayala's newfound perspective are resonating with you, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. Armed with Dr. Vance's advice, Ella began to adjust her running technique, focusing on shorter strides, better foot placement, and strengthening her core. The shin splints began to subside, and while her speed didn't dramatically increase, her endurance improved, and the pain lessened. She was still slower than the standard, but she was running smarter, stronger, and with less physical toll. One evening, after a particularly grueling day of training, Ayala found herself sitting alone in the barracks, polishing her boots. The air was thick with the smell of sweat and cleaning supplies. She pulled out a worn photograph of Elias, his smile broad and confident. "I can't run, but I never quit," she whispered to the photo, the mantra now feeling less like a desperate plea and more like a statement of fact. She wasn't just saying it, she was living it. Elias called that night, sensing her mood. "How's the training, sis? Still kicking butt?" "Still running," Ayala said, a wry smile on her face. "And still not hitting the standard, but I'm not quitting. Dr. Vance gave me some good advice, said I'm built for power, not just speed." "See?" Elias chuckled. "I told you. You've got that grit, Ayla. That's what really matters. When everything else falls apart, that's what keeps you going. That's what keeps your team going." His words reinforced her growing conviction. The military was about more than individual performance. It was about the unit, about relying on each other's strengths. And Ayla knew, deep in her heart, that her strength, though different, was vital. If Elias's unwavering support and Ayla's growing self-acceptance are touching your heart, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. The week of the final PFT arrived, bringing with it a palpable tension that hung heavy in the air. Recruits were pushing themselves to their absolute limits, reviewing everything they had learned. Ayla felt the pressure, but also a quiet confidence. She knew her strengths, and she accepted her limitations. She would give it everything she had, and whatever the outcome, she would know she had left nothing on the field. The day of the PFT dawned clear and cold. The atmosphere was charged with nervous energy. The 3-mile run was the first event. Ella stood at the starting line, taking deep breaths, focusing on her form, on her mantra. Sergeant Jack stood nearby, his face impassive, his stopwatch ready. The whistle blew. Ayala started, not with a burst of speed she couldn't sustain, but with a strong, steady pace. She focused on her breathing, on the rhythm of her feet hitting the ground. She could feel the familiar burn, the ache in her muscles, but she pushed through it, her mind clear, her resolve unwavering. As the faster recruits pulled ahead, Ayla found herself in her usual position, towards the back of the pack. But this time, she wasn't alone. Ria ran beside her for the entire first mile, offering quiet encouragement. Even Ori Fennel, after finishing his own run, jogged back to cheer her on for the last half mile, a surprising gesture of camaraderie. "You got this, Vesper," Ori yelled, running backward for a few steps. "Don't quit!" Ayala pushed harder, her lungs burning, her legs screaming. She saw the finish line and Sergeant Jack's, stopwatch in hand. She crossed it, stumbling, gasping for air, but she had run every single step. "Time, Vesper!" Jax's voice was still flat. 27 minutes, 58 seconds, Sergeant," she managed to gasp out. It was her personal best, nearly a minute faster than her previous attempts, but still slightly over the 24-minute standard. Jack simply nodded, making a note. He didn't say anything more about the run. Ayala felt the familiar pang of disappointment, but it was quickly overshadowed by a different feeling. Pride. She had pushed herself beyond what she thought possible. She had run with heart, with resilience, with everything she had. She hadn't quit. The rest of the PFT went well. Ayala excelled in the strength tests, the sit-ups, push-ups, and the 2-mile march with a heavy pack. She performed flawlessly in the tactical drills and the rifle range. She was a soldier, through and through, even if her running time didn't fit the mold. As the results were tallied, Ella felt a quiet sense of peace. She had given her all. She had redefined what enough meant for herself. She knew that sometimes the greatest victories weren't won on the field, but within, in the unyielding heart that refused to quit, no matter the odds. The final test was over, and Ella Vesper, the thick soldier, stood tall, ready for whatever came next, her spirit unbroken. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife as the recruits gathered for the official PFT results. Sergeant Jackson Kincaid stood before them, his face as unreadable as ever, a stack of clipboards in his hand. Ella Vesper felt a knot tighten in her stomach. She knew her runtime. She knew the standard. But the rest of the PFT, she felt, had been strong. She had given it everything. Jax began to call out names, announcing pass or fail for each recruit. Cheers erupted for those who passed, while a heavy silence fell for those who didn't. Ayala watched, her heart pounding, as names were called, one by one. Rhea Bellwether passed with flying colors, offering Ayla a reassuring smile. Ori Fennel, despite his earlier struggles, also passed, giving Ayla a thumbs up. Brenna O'Malley, as expected, passed with ease. Finally, Jax called her name. Vesper, Ayla. Ayla snapped to attention, her gaze locked on his. Your overall PFT score was exemplary, Jax stated, his voice flat. Strength, endurance, tactical aptitude, marksmanship, all well above average. Your leadership in field exercises has been noted. However, he paused, and Ayla braced herself. Your 3-mile run time was 27 minutes, 58 seconds. This falls short of the 24-minute standard. A collective sigh rippled through the recruits. Ayla felt a familiar wave of disappointment, but it was tempered by the acknowledgement of her other strengths. She had known this was coming. Under normal circumstances, Vesper, Jax continued, his eyes scanning the faces of the recruits. This would mean a retest, and potentially a recommendation for reevaluation of your suitability for active duty. A chill ran down Ayala's spine. Reevaluation. That was the military's polite way of saying, you might not make it. All her hard work, all her sacrifice, could be undone by 3 minutes and 58 seconds. However, Jax said, his voice gaining a subtle shift in tone, Captain Theron Croft has reviewed your full performance record, not just the PFT scores. He has taken into account your consistent improvement, your exceptional performance in all other physical and tactical assessments, and your demonstrated leadership and resilience under pressure. Ella held her breath. The captain. This was unexpected. Captain Croft has made an exception, Jax announced, his gaze finally meeting Ella's. Vesper, you have passed basic training. You will proceed to your advanced individual training, AIT, as scheduled. A stunned silence filled the room, followed by a ripple of murmurs. Ayala felt a rush of relief so profound it almost buckled her knees. She had done it. She had actually done it. She hadn't met the standard in one area, but her overall performance, her heart, had been recognized. Rhea let out a whoop of joy, rushing forward to hug Ayla tightly. You did it, Ayla. I knew you would. Ori clapped her on the shoulder, a genuine smile on his face. Told you, Vesper. You're a beast. They couldn't deny that. Even Brenna O'Malley offered a rare, approving nod. Good. You earned it. Some standards are just numbers. Ayla felt a warmth spread through her chest. It wasn't just the pass. It was the validation, the recognition that her unique strengths were valued. She had redefined enough, not just for herself, but in a small way, for the system. If Ayla's hard-earned victory and the recognition of her unique strengths are making you cheer, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. Later that day, Ayla found herself in Sergeant Jax's office, a rare one-on-one meeting. Jax sat behind his desk, his expression still serious, but with a hint of something softer in his eyes. Vesper, he began. Captain Croft saw something in your file that I've seen on the field. You're not the fastest runner, that's true, but you're relentless. You don't quit. You adapt. You lead. And when the chips are down, I'd rather have a soldier who never gives up than one who can run a 4-minute mile but folds under pressure. He leaned forward slightly. This isn't a free pass, Vesper. This is a recognition of a different kind of strength. The army needs all kinds of soldiers. You've proven you have the heart and the grit. Don't ever forget that. And don't ever stop pushing yourself. Ayla nodded, a lump in her throat. Understood, Sergeant. Thank you. Now, get out of here, Jack said, a faint smile finally touching his lips. And don't mess up AIT. Ayla walked out of his office, a spring in her step. The weight of the world, which had felt so heavy on her shoulders, had finally lifted. She called Elias, her voice bubbling with excitement. I passed, Elias. I actually passed. I knew it. Elias cheered from the other end. I told you, Ayla. They couldn't ignore what you bring to the table. You're more than just a runner. You're a soldier through and through. It wasn't just the PFT, Elias, Ayla explained, recounting the captain's intervention. They saw the whole picture. My resilience, my leadership, my heart. Exactly, Elias said, his voice full of pride. That's the Vesper spirit. Never quit. Never give up. That's what makes a true soldier. Aikin, if Sergeant Jax's profound words and Ayala's well-deserved triumph are resonating with you, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. Ayla's Advanced Individual Training, AIT, took her to Fort Sam Houston, Texas, where she specialized in combat medic training. This was where her meticulous nature, her calm under pressure, and her innate empathy truly shone. The curriculum was rigorous, demanding both intellectual acuity and practical skill. Ayla excelled in anatomy, physiology, and emergency medical procedures. Her steady hands, which Brenna had once remarked upon, proved invaluable in suturing practice and administering IVs. Her physical strength, once seen as a potential hindrance in running, became a significant asset in medic training. She could easily carry heavy medical packs, assist in moving simulated casualties, and maintain her composure during high-stress, realistic training scenarios. Her thick frame, which had once felt like a burden, was now a source of quiet power, allowing her to perform tasks that challenged many of her leaner counterparts. During a particularly intense field exercise, simulating a mass casualty event, chaos erupted. Recruits were overwhelmed, struggling to prioritize and treat multiple wounded soldiers. Ayla, despite the simulated explosions and screams, remained a pillar of calm. She quickly assessed the scene, triaged casualties, and began administering aid with precision and efficiency. Her voice, though not loud, was clear and authoritative, guiding her team through the pandemonium. Vesper, over here! We need a tourniquet! A panicked recruit yelled. On it! Ayla responded, already moving, her movements fluid and purposeful, despite her robust build. She applied the tourniquet, her hands steady, her focus absolute. Captain Theron Croft, who had observed her performance during basic training, made an unexpected visit to the AIT exercise. He watched Ayla from a distance, his expression thoughtful. He saw a soldier who wasn't just following protocols, but who was leading, inspiring confidence, and making critical decisions under immense pressure. He saw the heart that Sergeant Jax had spoken of, in action. After the exercise, Captain Croft approached Ayla. Vesper, he said, his voice calm but firm. Impressive work today. You handled that chaos with remarkable composure. Thank you, Captain, Ayla replied, snapping to attention. Your running time and basic training was noted, he continued, a faint smile touching his lips. But your performance here, your ability to lead, to remain calm, to save lives, that's what truly matters. You're exactly the kind of soldier we need. His words were a profound validation, echoing the sentiment that had saved her in basic training. It wasn't about one metric, it was about the whole soldier. If Captain Croft's recognition of Ayla's true value is empowering you, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. Ayla graduated from AIT with honors, her certificate a testament to her unwavering dedication and exceptional skill. She was now a fully qualified combat medic, ready to deploy. Her journey had been anything but easy, filled with self-doubt, physical pain, and the constant pressure to conform to a narrow definition of military fitness. But she had persevered, not by changing who she was, but by embracing her unique strengths. Her friends from basic training, Rhea, Ori, and Bree, had also graduated and were heading to their respective units. They gathered for a final meal before parting ways, a bond forged in the fires of basic training. To Ayala, Rhea toasted, raising her glass. The toughest, most determined soldier I know, who proved that heart beats speed any day. Ori nodded. Seriously, Vesper, you taught me a lot about what real strength looks like. Bree, ever pragmatic, added, and that sometimes the rules need to bend for the right people. You're one of them. Ella felt a surge of gratitude for her friends, for their support, for seeing her beyond the numbers. She had come into basic training feeling like an outsider, constantly battling against a perceived inadequacy. Now, she stood tall, confident in her abilities, proud of her body, and certain of her purpose. She thought of Elias, his quiet strength, his unwavering belief in her. She had joined the military to honor him, to protect others, and in doing so, she had found her own strength, her own path. She hadn't been able to run as fast as the others, but she had never quit, and that, she realized, was the most important victory of all. As she prepared for her first deployment, Ayla Vesper carried with her not just her medical kit and her training, but an unshakable belief in herself. She was a thick soldier, yes, but she was also a powerful, empathetic, and resilient one. She was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that her greatest asset wasn't her speed, but her unyielding heart, a heart that refused to quit, no matter the odds. Her journey had just begun, but the lessons learned in the crucible of basic training had forged her into a soldier of extraordinary character, ready to make a difference, one life at a time. Ayla Vesper stood on the tarmac, the desert wind whipping at her fatigues, carrying the scent of sand and distant dust. The roar of the transport plane faded as it lifted into the vast, indifferent sky. This was it, her first deployment, the culmination of months of grueling training, of pushing her body and spirit to their absolute limits. She was no longer just a recruit. She was a combat medic, a soldier, ready to face the stark realities of a world far removed from the manicured lawns of Fort Maxwell. Her unit, a small detachment of infantry and support personnel, was stationed at a forward operating base, FOB, in a remote, arid region. The days were scorching, the nights bone-chilling. The constant threat of the unknown hung heavy in the air, a silent, ever-present companion. Ayala, with her sturdy build and calm demeanor, quickly became a steady presence in the chaotic environment. Her thick frame, once a point of self-consciousness, was now an undeniable asset. She could carry her heavy medic bag, loaded with supplies, for miles across uneven terrain without faltering. Her powerful legs, though not built for speed, were built for endurance, for sustained effort under duress. Her initial interactions with her new team were cautious. They knew her from her AIT records, excellent medic, strong, but with a note about her PFT runtime. Ella knew she had to prove herself again, not with words, but with actions. If Ayla's journey into the heart of her deployment is gripping you, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. The first few weeks were a baptism by fire. Patrols were frequent, often under the scorching sun, carrying heavy gear. Ayla always kept pace, her breathing deep and controlled, her eyes scanning the environment, always alert for potential threats or medical emergencies. Her calm under pressure, honed during AIT's simulated mass casualty events, proved invaluable. When a sudden IED blast rocked a patrol, sending shrapnel flying and injuring several soldiers, Ayala was the first to react. The air was thick with dust, and the acrid smell of explosives. Screams mingled with the shouts of confusion. Ayla, despite the ringing in her ears, moved with a clear purpose. She assessed the scene, her training kicking in instinctively. "Casualty count! Triage!" she yelled, her voice cutting through the chaos. She moved from soldier to soldier, her hands steady as she applied tourniquets, dressed wounds, and administered pain medication. Her robust build allowed her to quickly move debris, to lift and stabilize wounded comrades, her strength a silent, reassuring force. One soldier, Private Kalen, had a severe leg injury and was bleeding profusely. He was in shock, his eyes wide with fear. Ella knelt beside him, her face close to his. "Kalen, look at me," she said, her voice calm and firm, cutting through his panic. "You're going to be okay. I've got you." Just breathe with me. She worked quickly, efficiently, her empathy a powerful balm amidst the terror. She secured the wound, stabilized him, and then, with surprising strength, helped 2 other soldiers carefully lift him onto a stretcher. Back at the FOB, after the immediate crisis had passed, the unit commander, Lieutenant Commander Reese Thorne, approached Ayla. Thorne was a seasoned officer, known for his quiet authority and keen judgment. "Medic Vesper," Thorne said, his voice low. "Outstanding work out there. Your response was exemplary. You saved lives today." Ayla stood at attention. "Thank you, Lieutenant Commander." "I saw your file," Thorne continued, his gaze steady. "The note about your runtime. Frankly, I was skeptical. But what I saw today, that's the kind of speed that matters. The speed of decisive action, of calm under fire. You're a credit to this unit, Vesper." His words were a profound validation, echoing Captain Croft's earlier assessment. It wasn't about the numbers on a stopwatch. It was about the soldier, the whole soldier, and what she brought to the fight. Ella felt a surge of pride, a quiet satisfaction that settled deep in her bones. She had proven herself, not by conforming, but by excelling in her own way. If Ayla's courage under fire and the recognition of her true value are empowering you, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. The incident solidified Ayla's reputation within the unit. Her fellow soldiers, who had initially been polite but reserved, now treated her with genuine respect and trust. They saw her not as the thick soldier who struggled with runs, but as Medic Vesper, the one who kept her head when everyone else was losing theirs, the one who could carry them out of danger, the one who would never quit on them. Rhiannon Raya Bellwether, who was deployed with a different unit, but communicated with Ayla when possible, sent her a message after hearing about the IED incident. "Heard you were a hero, Ayla. Knew you would be. You're built for this. Remember what I said? Heartbeat speed." Ayla smiled, remembering Ria's unwavering support from basic training. Her friendship, and the camaraderie of her unit, became her anchor in the harsh reality of deployment. She continued to excel in her role. Her empathy, honed by her brother Elias's injury and her own journey of self-acceptance, made her an exceptional caregiver. She didn't just treat wounds. She offered comfort, listened to fears, and provided a steady presence in moments of extreme vulnerability. Her robust build allowed her to assist in moving heavy equipment, setting up field hospitals, and even carrying wounded soldiers over short distances when necessary, her strength a quiet testament to her capabilities. One particularly challenging mission involved a long-range patrol deep into hostile territory. The terrain was unforgiving, rocky and steep, and the heat was relentless. Several soldiers began to suffer from heat exhaustion and dehydration. Ayla, despite her own fatigue, moved tirelessly, distributing water, monitoring vital signs, and providing immediate care. Her endurance, a direct result of her sustained efforts in basic training, allowed her to remain effective when others were faltering. During a steep ascent, a soldier, Private Fennel, no relation to Ori, but the name brought a small smile to Ayla's face, stumbled and twisted his ankle badly. He was in excruciating pain and couldn't put weight on it. The unit was miles from the nearest vehicle extraction point, and carrying him would slow them down significantly, putting the entire patrol at risk. "Medic Vesper," Lieutenant Commander Thorne ordered. "Assess the situation. Can he walk?" Ayla quickly examined Private Fennel. "No, sir. It's a severe sprain, possibly a fracture. He needs to be carried." Thorne looked grim. "We can't afford to slow down. We're in a hot zone." Ayla made a quick decision. "Sir, I can carry him. I can maintain a steady pace. It will be slower, but I can do it." Thorne hesitated, then looked at Ayla's sturdy frame, her determined eyes. He had seen her strength. "Very well, Vesper. Private Fennel, you're with Medic Vesper. The rest of the unit, maintain formation, provide cover. Move." Ayla carefully helped Private Fennel onto her back, securing him with straps from her pack. The weight was substantial, but Ayla braced herself, her powerful legs taking the strain. She began to move, slowly but steadily, her focus absolute. Every step was a battle against the terrain, the heat, and the sheer physical exertion. She could feel the sweat pouring down her face, her muscles screaming, but she pushed through it, one agonizing step after another. If Ayla's incredible strength and self-sacrifice are inspiring you, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. Hours later, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long purple shadows across the desert, Ella finally reached the designated extraction point. She gently lowered Private Fennel, her body trembling with exhaustion, but her spirit unbroken. The rest of the unit, who had maintained a protective perimeter, watched her with awe and profound respect. Lieutenant Commander Thorne walked over, his face etched with admiration. "Vesper," he said, his voice filled with genuine emotion. "That was an extraordinary feat. You carried him for miles. You put the mission and your comrade above everything else. You're one of the strongest soldiers I've ever had the privilege to serve with." Ayla, catching her breath, simply nodded. "I can't run, sir," she said, a faint, tired smile on her face. "But I never quit." Thorne returned her smile, a rare, warm expression. "No, Vesper, you certainly don't." The incident became legendary within the unit, a testament to Ayla's unyielding spirit and her unique strength. She received a commendation for her actions, a tangible recognition of her courage and dedication. Her thick frame was no longer a subject of any note. It was simply Ayla, the medic who could carry a wounded soldier for miles, the soldier who always got the job done. Throughout her deployment, Ayla continued to draw strength from the memory of Elias, his quiet resilience a constant guide. She wrote to him often, sharing her experiences, her triumphs, and her moments of doubt. His replies, filled with unwavering support and pride, reminded her of the bigger picture, of the purpose that had driven her to serve. As her deployment drew to a close, Ayla reflected on her journey. She had faced down her own insecurities, defied expectations, and proven that strength came in many forms. She had learned that true power wasn't about conforming to a narrow ideal, but about embracing one's authentic self, about leveraging unique attributes, and about an unshakable will to persevere. Her body, with its robust build, was not a hindrance. It was a vessel of strength, endurance, and compassion. If Ayla's profound impact and her journey of self-acceptance are deeply moving you, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. Ayla returned home a decorated soldier, her heart full of experiences that had forged her into an even stronger, more confident woman. Elias was there to meet her, his eyes shining with pride as he hugged her tightly. "My hero," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "Your medic," Ayla corrected, a wide smile on her face. "And I never quit." She continued her service, eventually becoming a highly respected instructor at a combat medic school. She used her own story, her own journey to inspire new recruits. She taught them not just medical procedures, but also the importance of resilience, of empathy, and of understanding that every soldier brings unique strengths to the table. She emphasized that the military needed all kinds of heroes, not just the fastest, but also the strongest, the most enduring, and the ones with the biggest hearts. Ella Vesper, the thick soldier who couldn't run fast enough, became a living testament to the idea that true victory isn't always measured by a stopwatch or a medal, but by the unyielding spirit within. She had redefined what it meant to be a soldier, proving that heart, determination, and a refusal to quit were the most powerful weapons of all. Her journey was a beacon of hope, a reminder that in a world that often measures us by narrow standards, our greatest strength lies in our authentic selves, in the courage to keep moving forward, one step at a time, no matter how heavy the load, no matter how long the run. And in doing so, she not only served her country with honor, but also inspired countless others to embrace their own unique power, proving that an unyielding heart can indeed conquer all. What an incredibly powerful and inspiring conclusion to Ayla's journey. If her story of unwavering determination, self-acceptance, and the transformative power of an unyielding heart has deeply moved you, please show your support. Hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs a dose of inspiration, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more powerful and uplifting stories like this one. Your engagement helps us continue to create content that celebrates the human spirit. Thank you for watching.